In recent years, the #1 preferred artificial food for feeding Venus flytraps seems to be the freeze-dried bloodworms available in most aquarium stores. They're expensive, but one small jar like this will probably last several flytraps for a couple of years. What's reported is that freeze-dried bloodworms contain the ideal mix of nutrients, fats, proteins that help the flytraps grow as fast as possible. Now, I have used these myself now for several months of my flytraps, and I found that that is indeed the case. They are a little tricky to prepare so that the flytraps can eat them, but once you do so, I think you'll find you get very good growth results. As they come out of the container, freeze-dried bloodworms are, well, dried out little strings. To get them to be absorbed by the flytraps, they have to be rehydrated. Use only distilled water for this. I have used tap water, and even though it's not very much, I've killed traps doing so. To a nice sized clump, add just 2 or maybe 3 drops. And then use the tweezers to knead it together and encourage the dried worms to reabsorb the water. They're so dry that they may resist doing this, and it takes a few minutes to get them fully rehydrated. Once it appears they're fully rehydrated, most sources recommend that you use a piece of paper and touch it to the edge to draw off any excess liquid. You need to get rid of that liquid because if you put it in the traps too wet and the traps are upright rather than laying horizontal, the liquid will leak out of the traps, actually be squeezed out as the traps close down tight, and will create a stain on the leaf, which, while it doesn't hurt the leaf, is unattractive. I don't like doing that because if you drain off by absorbing it into paper, this excess liquid, you're also pulling off a lot of the nutrients that have already dissolved. What I prefer to do is to add additional freeze-dried brine shrimp and continue this until all of the liquid is absorbed and I have what's more like a semi-dry paste so that there is no free liquid pooling around the bottom. Okay, here we are. It's been about 5 minutes since the pause, and I've more than doubled the volume of freeze-dried bloodworms that I've added to this. The worms are very dry, hollow tubes, so volume-wise, they're kind of like popcorn. It takes a lot of them to actually increase the total amount of mass very much. Next, what you need to do, because they are long, thin, rather tough strings, is use a razor blade, very sharp razor blade, to cut off the appropriate size piece to feed to a trap. It's very important that you cut the piece off to be no bigger than 1/3 of the inside surface area of the trap. Any bigger than that, and it could some of the material could be pushed out and prevent a tight seal. If that happens, the trap will rot and die. Taking the appropriate sized piece of, oh, there it goes. Of food, place it in the traps. It should close very quickly, and then resist the impulse to use the tweezers to squeeze the trap closed to help the fly trap realize that it's caught real prey and not a false trigger. The reason is that the sharp edges of the tweezers can very easily bruise and damage the trap so that it dies. It's best to use your fingers. You need to squeeze the traps very lightly, about once a second for 40 seconds. This will signal to the trap that it's caught a living prey and proceed with the the complete closure sequence and digesting it. Without doing this, it'll think it's just been hit by a drop of water or a speck of dust or something, and will open up after about 12 hours. By the way, in case you're wondering, this is an immature G16 Venus flytrap. It's one of the very largest trap varieties, although the B52 and DSXL are considered to have larger traps. The G16 is considered a better behaved plant, and on average, its traps are as large as any others. The DSXL and B52s tend to produce the very largest traps early in spring when their growing rate is at the highest. In summer, the traps tend to get smaller. The G16 tends to hold its trap size throughout the year much better. And that's it. In about 2 weeks, the trap should reopen. It can be refed. Typically, you can feed a trap 4 times before it runs out of energy, but by then, several more traps will have been formed. So I hope this helps you feed your Venus flytraps and help them grow faster and stronger, and most importantly, larger traps. Thank you for watching.